In this video, we're going to continue with our robot arm, and I'm going to show you how to add some bends to the arms to make them look a little bit more motion-driven and realistic. In the first video that showed kind of the parent and link, parent and child, how to set that up, that one you can search for on my YouTube page. But this basically shows how to link all of these arms and the claw and the base together so they all move together. All right, so to add a little bit of interest to this, when we move this, everything stays straight and it's a little bit stiff. So what I'd like to do is when the base starts moving over, I would like this to bend backward to give it a little bit of motion, kind of like when you're putting your arm back to throw a ball. It goes back a little bit first and then it moves forward and bends. So how we're going to do that is we're going to select arm 1. We'll open these up to get the controls. With arm 1, you'll remember that we used our anchor point tool to set the rotation point down here. Now we're going to click on this puppet position tool, and we want to use the top one here, puppet position tool, and I'm going to click 3 spots on here. So there's 3. And you'll notice that it adds an effect on arm 1, puppet. Open that up, and underneath here in the mesh we have a deform and then 3 points. So these are the 3 pinpoints that I made. So if I open up these 3 pinpoints, I can control these 3 pinpoints independent of each other. So the second one is what I most likely want to control. So if I click on this one here, you'll notice that it highlights this one. So what I'd like to do is just start here and say this is my first starting point. I'm going to move over just a little bit, maybe like to about right here. It's almost, I guess, so it's vertical there. And I'm going to set a new keyframe here. And I'm just going to move this over a little bit. See how it bends that? You can get a lot of bend out of it, but it'll start to deform the vector a little bit. Let's just get a little bit of a bend in here. All right, so now you'll see what that looks like. When it goes back, it actually starts to torque that and bend it so that it comes forward like this. Now, when it comes forward all the way, I want it to start right at the kind of the peak right here. I want it to start bending the other way. So I'm going to go over about the same distance. Well, actually, we could just go all the way to 1 second because that's where we end this. And I'm going to set a third keyframe here to kind of anchor this other piece, and I'm going to bend it back the other way. So it should create a transition or a tween between these. So now it will bend as we move the base over. It's going to put like stress on this part of the arm. It'll bend it. And then when we get up here, it's going to put stress the other way as it stretches out and bend it that way. So this is what that looks like. And of course we can fine tune it. I might want this one over just a little bit. But it's already looking much more natural to bend it that way. And if we want the very, very first part, when this starts to bend, if we want this to be a little bit more, we can certainly do that. But I don't know, I think I kind of like it the way it is. All right, so then we would continue to do this to the other pieces as well. You could bend this one, you could bend this one, just simply by, we're going to close all this up. It's kind of a lot, I know, to see when you have all these controls open. And we're going to move to the second arm, which would be arm number 2. We can open that one up. We can do the same thing. Make sure the top one is selected. We will click 3 position points here. And then we will open this up. It's under Mesh, under Deform, and you have your 3 pieces here. So if I really probably just want this one, So if I think about how this base would move over and this would bend, this would probably put stress on it so it bends up just a little bit. So I'm going to take that center one and we'll move that over just a bit, about right, maybe so that this thing, the first arm is almost 90 degrees. And I'm going to set a second keyframe on this one. We'll just pull that up slightly. So it just starts to torque that just a little bit. So now you see that that is moving that way. And I actually like that when it just like kind of stays bent. We could play around with this a little bit, but I think it just gives it kind of a kinetic energy that you see in motion things or things in motion. And when it gets about right here, I guess we could maybe straighten this one out a little bit more and finesse it, but I'll let you play around with that on your own. So when we get up, when this starts to torque this way, my guess is this one would bend in. So let's close this one up, arm 2, and go to arm 3. And on arm 3, we'll drop in 3 more points. And then we will open this mesh up, open the deform up, and we'll just go into that second pin there. We set that up, and we get about right here. We're going to set another one, but now I'm going to bow this one down. And then we'll play around with that. So when this one starts to go up, now that would actually go the other way, wouldn't it? I don't like that. Let's put this one up so that when you start this, it starts to bend down because it's torquing it up. So now when it gets out here, they're all kind of still a little bit stressed and they get to this piece. So of course we can fine tune this, but this is what it would look like. And you can see it's starting to look more realistic because we allow these to bend instead of just being straight. And you can do this with a lot of things. Any vector line that you have, you can do this with drawings that you have and you want to animate. Any of those lines, you can use that puppet tool. I keep saying puppet tool because it's kind of like what you learn in Photoshop, but the puppet pin, where you can put pins in there and then warp it and tweak it to make it look a little bit more maybe rubber bandy at times, or just to bend a little bit more and make it look a little bit more natural. All right, so that's it. I hope you find that helpful. Thank you.